Hey guys, this is KSP with Tape, and today you join me for episode 47 of KSP Road to Exploration, and we start with a Pulsar X launch. Yes, another launch of our glorious SSTO, which is fully reusable, which is rather nice. Well, I guess reusable, but in KSP you just recover it, which I guess is basically the same. But anyway, this is launching a rather important payload. We have been commissioned to expand our moon base. Yes, a very vital part of our ongoing mission to go to other planets. A very slow-going mission, I understand that, but I think we're largely done with Kerbal now, so we'll be kind of speeding through that and launching things quite soon. But I do want to really focus, I do want to really put some work into this moon base as well, and I do that quite a lot today. So this is basically a 10-person module, which is going to land on the moon and expand our moon people Kerbal capacity to 21, because we have the rover, the main module, and the lab, and then this will have a capacity of 21, because these are the upgraded versions of the kind of upgraded habitat modules, and you'll see why they have a high crew capacity when we land on the moon, and it's quite cool. But yeah, so basically, we want to expand the base. I would have to bring a bunch more life support. Well, I have already got a bunch more life support, so I could have more than 5 Kerbals on the moon right now, but I would then have to, build another, bring up another vehicle to take Kerbals to the moon, which I may do at some point. I may build a massive one for funsies. But yeah, so anyway, we land the rocket on the ocean, so we get that money back, because rockets are expensive, man. This one itself is about 50 grand, which incidentally is about the same price as the Starlight 1, because it uses the most expensive engine in the game, other than I think the Ion engine. Anyway, so you may have noticed this is covered in fuel tanks in weird places. It's because I didn't want to put a transfer stage on it. So the tanks underneath it basically are tanks for pushing it out to the moon, and we cut through most of that burn because it took a long time, if it wasn't obvious from my very sleek editing. And we've already dropped a couple of the small tanks, and then basically the tanks on top will be the fuel to land it on the moon, and then they jettison, and everything is good. So yeah. And this should land nicely on the moon. It has those kind of inline engines which look very good. I do love this mod. I think it's the planetary something mod. I've forgotten. It's been 47 episodes, but it is, especially the interiors. I mean, I'll get onto that later, but whoever made this mod, just mad props. If you do watch this, and yeah, you're one of the reasons I loved making this episode. And when I was really kind of stressed from all the little panicky things I have to do with the base later, I went inside, I looked at it, I was like, oh yeah, this is fantastic. So thank you to that guy for making my KSP moon base a little less tedious. So anyway, yeah, we just need to bring it down onto the moon. I'm going to use the rest of the fuel in that big tank, then ditch it because we don't need it, and also it'll get in the way. This does have some solar panels on top. They don't stick out because I think too many of my modules have a bunch of sticky out solar panels. We'll deal with that a little today. But this has some inline ones. Annoyingly, the decouplers are staying underneath the vessel, which means they're going to jut out kind of shittily and firstly look terrible, and secondly kind of interrupt the landing legs. Anyway, so we've run out of fuel there, so we need to activate all the fuel in these top tanks so we can go to land. And yeah, so pretty successful so far, and these engines are very powerful, and I think I have more than enough Delta V, we'll see, to land safely on the moon. And expand the moon base, and I'm gonna rearrange it a little bit so the moon base looks nicer, because I think it should look nicer. My plan for my Duna base, which I've been working on and have been constructing, and basically just need to figure out how the hell to land it, and finalize some of the module stuff, will look very different to this. It will be using the same mod and a few of the same parts, but the way it's set out and the one specific part it uses makes it look just freaking amazing. And also there's this other part, I don't want to spoil it because I'm so excited about it, but yeah, it looks awesome, and we'll probably do a bunch of testing on it before we send it to Duna. But I may even get onto that sort of stuff as soon as next episode, because I don't really have that many other things to do, so I might just time warp through a lot of the time. Anyway, so on landing, we kind of run out of fuel and land hard. A lot of explosions, but that was just the freaking decouplers. So now we don't have all that noise on the bottom, which is great. I also lost a couple of solar panels, which were on the bottom, because the ones on the top wouldn't always get sunlight. So that's actually great. Anyway, so that's on the moon, but it's out of fuel, and I don't have a Kerbal there to put the pipes in. So I will deal with that when I send some Kerbals there later this episode. Anyway, we just unlocked our long-range antenna, right? Okay, yeah, basically then we were just unlocking a long-range antenna, which uses less power than the one we put on the dual probe, because the dual probe can't generate enough power for the job for its antenna, so we're gonna have to send another one. Anyway, I'll talk about that later. That was a very quick clip which I was talking anyway. But yeah, this is the probe we're sending to Moho is the name of that planet, not Mercury. I was thinking Mercury because, you know. And yeah, basically this is the one I forgot to put the science on, but it's fine because we have a mission for this. We're going to put it in a polar orbit to complete a mission, which means we will get money, and this probe isn't a failure. It's a profit, but it means we won't complete the mission I really wanted to complete because I kind of want to be done with Moho. I failed a lot of missions going to Moho. One just flew by, the other one I think worked great, and then this one kind of fucked up. So I'm going to have to send one more. Yeah, there will be more probes throughout this series, but the main focus will be going to Duna, and then to further places. The end goal isn't Duna, but that's the next step, and that will be happening fairly soon. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to basically hit Moho, but that's fine, I can adjust that when I get there. So this is on its way. Anyway, just a quick small mission. We're getting the Red Origin 2 to go and rescue a Kerbal. Just going to drop down into its orbit, grab the Kerbal, come back, that sort of stuff. So there we are, dropping down into its orbit. And then just getting our close encounter when we're there, which is just a bit of a retrograde burn, as you can see here. And we'll just meet it around the other side, grab the Kerbal, and hope for God that he's a scientist. I only have 3 scientists. I have like a gajillion engineers who I only really need 2 of, maybe 3. And I have like a shit ton of pilots and like 3 spaceships, so I don't need that many pilots. But anyway, so we grab this guy. And yeah, he's a pilot. So that's not great. Anyway, we dock into the station, where we do all the maneuvering to get back to the station, and we do it. So there we are, docked. Everything's good. So he's rescued, and we'll bring him back right now, along with some Kerbals. I can't read the names, because I am in a really tiny post-production thing. Basically a bunch of guys, I think 2 of the other people who went to the moon base who need to come home. They've been in space for a long time. Anyway, so we deorbit and then land gently on the ocean. And then we recover him, get paid, and now I'm going to go fire him, because I just don't need pilots. So we go into here, we dispense of this pilot, because we just don't need him. We've got a bunch more Kerbals on the station as well. We've got a lot of Kerbals. So I'm going to fire him and fire that engineer, whom I don't need, because at some point I'm probably going to have to buy a scientist, which is... I don't know how I feel about buying people in general, but they're very expensive right now. Anyway, so, another Pulsar X, but this has an interesting probe. You remember I unlocked that that antenna earlier? That's a heavier antenna with a slightly shorter range than the one I sent on the Joule probe, but it uses less power. So, I've attached this to this probe, and this is the next Joule probe, because the other one is going to run out of power, as we learned last episode from that Dres probe. So this has massive solar panels, because I still don't have RTGs, which kind of sucks. But yes, this should work. So it's going to go to Joule. It's a far more impressive probe, and because of the launch window we're using, it'll get there before the first probe. So this just is all of the win. We didn't lose anything except lots of money and a probe and a little bit of reputation. But yeah, anyway, so we're going to push ourselves on into orbit, and you can see it's a bigger... You probably don't remember the first Joule probe. I launched it a very long time ago. But it's quite big because it's got a heavier antenna. And I've put more science on it and more awesome on it. So basically, it's much bigger. It's using the full-size nuclear engine, and it's using it's using 4 little boosters, well, kind of liquid fuel boosters, to push it out of Kerbin's sphere of influence. So yeah, we will be sending this right to Joule, and it will be going there much quicker than the other one. It'll actually get there before the other one, which is fantastic. And you can see the giant solar array, because I'm not taking any chances. I'm not losing this probe. Anyway, so we land the rocket, because, you know, expensive freaking rocket. And then, yeah, we plan a maneuver, and we don't even have to do a fine-tune to get our encounter. We will have to do a fine-tune to get close, because there's even more awesome in this mission. This mission totally makes up for the failure of the Dres and the first Joule mission. This probe's called Eagle 2, by the way, because the first one was called Eagle 1. This will hopefully be a more successful Eagle. Anyway, yeah, you can see the payload assist motors there, just kind of kicking in. That's not actually their name, but that's effectively what they are. They just mean it can leave the system much more quickly because it means I only have to do one burn effectively. It doesn't, we won't carry them the whole way because you can see here before we've completed the burn we need to drop them away. This is a little later. And then we'll carry on with a nuclear engine, which it just means that we can, leave faster, which is nicer, and I only have to do one burn because I hate doing multiple burns. Anyway, but we do complete this after a little while. We have got a ton of fuel on this. This was a massive probe, and yeah, so there we go. We've got an encounter, so we're just going to leave the system and do a tweak because, well, let's just see what happens first. It's not actually a fully locked in thing yet, so I'm going to burn prograde a little bit until we've got our actual encounter. And yeah, it looks like we're good there. And you can see that if I burn a little more, I'll get a little closer, which is nice. This is at 4 times time accelerate now because that whole bit wasn't, which is a first for this series. But anyway, yeah, so that's all locked in. And then after doing a little bit of tweaking, I can actually get a Tylo assist that will give me my orbit for free. And not only that, the perfect orbit that I need. Obviously, I will have to, do a bit of a retrograde burn. But hey, free orbit. This mission is perfect. It's quicker, better, bigger, and uses a gravity assist. By accident. Anyway, so, remember all that moon stuff I was doing earlier? Yes, we're going to go to the moon with some Kerbals, and we're going to go and kind of attach all of those things I sent, because I need to complete this mission of expanding the moon base. So yeah, we've got our encounter. I skipped through that burn. I was a little disorientated there because it took a while, and because it's just going to the moon. We're not going to bother docking with the Neptune station, and I know last episode I think I said that I'd bring the Ares 2 out this episode with a person who would fly it and then meet up with the spacecraft, but then I realized I would need 2 pilots for that, and this mission doesn't require 2 pilots, so I think I might just deorbit the Ares. No, I'm going to attach a probe to it, and I will send it to the Neptune station. Not that I really use the Neptune station, which is the station around the moon, by the way. I never really set up a proper infrastructure for the moon, but I probably will set up a mining operation at some point, but they're very long and laborious. I might just do that on Duna, because I don't really need one on the moon. I have reusable rockets, bro. Anyway, so there we are in an orbit, and we're just going to pull ourselves, we're going to drop down onto the moon. We've pretty good time. It's almost nighttime on the moon, which lasts 3 days, which is really annoying for long missions, which is why I have such a giant battery. Oh, just knocked the fuel tank there with my engines. That's why I have such a giant battery on the moon, because 3-day nights, you need a lot of power to not die and all of that. Because of course I'm using the TAC life support mod, which makes this game a little harder, much harder. It's the reason you can't go to Duna so quickly, and also remote tech. Which is the communications mod, which is now just stock in 1.2, which this game will probably not be updated to, ever. I don't even think it's in 1.1.3. Yeah, because I just don't think I bothered. Yeah, maybe I will upgrade it to 1.2 at some point. But yeah, anyway, so we're going to try and land here. It looks like we are just slowing down in time, and then I overburn because I was trying to slow down so much, so I just need to kind of balance my descent so that I actually land near the base, so I don't have to go and get the rover. Although that would be quite good, although I still need to replace the solar panels on the rover. I really should have brought some solar panels, but there's a bunch of spare ones just on bits of the moon base, so I'll just nip them off and it'll be fine. So yeah, we're just going to land next to the moon habitat 2, yeah, because we need to, firstly we need to refuel it so we can move it to the base, and then we need to attach it up, and we need to do a bunch of things. We also need to attach the rover temporarily to the base so that we get the full crew capacity. So we're going to move this life support module that I sent last episode over to the new habitat so that I can use a bunch of its fuel to move the habitat over, which is good. So we get our engineer out gracefully, and then we go and fetch a tool. We only have a wrench in here. I'm supposed to have a power drill, but I think Bill took it with him, the bastard. Anyway, so yeah, we'll have to send another power drill down here because the wrench is only so useful. It can only take off quite small parts. But yeah, it's fine for now. Anyway, so we attach that up, full gracefully again. He's an engineer. He's not very graceful. Not that engineers aren't great. Oh, insulted so many engineers just there. Anyway, we fuel that up, and we're just going to go move this over to the base. I'm going to put it next to the current life support base, the current habitation module. And then I'm going to move the hab over, actually. Not the hab, the lab. Too many things rhyme. I'm going to move the lab over because I want all of that kind of habitation-y bits all together. I want it to look like a much nicer base. So after moving it a little more, I deploy the living space. Yes, this deploys. That's why it carries more Kerbals, as I mentioned earlier. It's much nicer than that other one, as you can see on the other bit of the module. And then we get rid of the fuel tanks, which is rather explosive. And they will probably just fly back to Kerbal and kill someone. And then we move the lab over, which is we're going to put here, but I think I'm going to rotate it to be in line with the new module because they look very similar. So I think that'll look good. I think it'll look much nicer, and I think I'm going to move the life support thing down as well. Because I want the base looking nicer. It's a bit of a mess right now. So yeah, anyway, I move it here. It looks rather nice. And we'll just need to link it up, which looks so nice when they're this close together. Just that pipe looks very satisfying, how little and close it is. I don't know, I'm weird. Anyway, so we complete the mission, get a lot of money, because now we've linked all of the things up, as you can see. We've linked the rover to the base, and I moved the life support module around. We have completed the mission. We've got a much bigger base, but now I need to disconnect the rover and attach the big life support module to the base. And you can see that it looks much more uniform now. I much prefer this base layout. It looks good. I think it's much better. I think you'll agree. So yeah, moon base, looking good. I just need to get rid of some of these things that I don't want on here anymore, like this control module, which I just don't need, which has been on there for ages. But it's fine. So we're going to spin it up, and then it kind of gets out of my control and explodes, which is fine. And then it just runs away, spinning like a mental, and we'll just watch it leave. I don't know what happened with that. Kerbal physics are confusing. But anyway, let's get the Kerbals in the new module, because I want to check out the IVAs. And we're going to get the scientist in the lab, of course. And I don't think I've ever seen the IVA of the lab. But yes, look at that. Look how just there's a table and a fucking sofa over there and a TV, and it looks like there's a hallway on the left. I don't know why I'm pointing. You can't see my hands. But yeah, that looks pretty nice. And then we're going to switch camera to the lab. Oh, look how just detailed this is. All those little wires on it. It just looks so cool. I freaking love this. Just all of these little details and notes. And there's a little hallway down there. And then I look at it from the outside looking in, which is a great feature in 1.1. It's just the best feature about 1.1. That's what made the game complete. Being able to see in from outside. Oh, I fucking love this game. But yes, that is that. The moon base is bigger, better, filled with Kerbals, has more life support, and is just generally looks more uniform. So that's good. Anyway, final thing for today. We're going to Eeloo. Yes, an Eeloo transfer window has come around yet again. And today I'm going to head out there because I have the antennas that are long enough. I have big enough solar panels, though I really wish I had RTGs. That would make it so much better. But I think the solar panels might just be able to hold out for Eeloo at its lowest point. So hopefully this will work. I mean, it does come within the orbit of Joule. So this is on a slightly modified Pulsar X. It's actually a very light payload. I just had to use the Pulsar X because the Starlights wouldn't be able to lift it with the fairing, because the fairing's massive and adds a lot of mass. But yeah, you can see this has thrusters on it and air brakes. Because it has such a light payload, I could be a little more experimental, which means that I'll be able to have a much more precise landing because I can turn more quickly, I can brake, and I'll have more fuel. And you can see the Eeloo probe here. It's pretty good. It's pretty small. It's not as big as the one we're sending to Joule because the Joule one needs to fly around a bunch. But this will be landing on Eeloo. It'll be doing various things. It does have some solid rocket motors on the back so that it can leave the Kerbal system more quickly, much the same as the Joule probe, except that was using liquid fuel boosters. But yeah, so we're going to deploy the giant solar panels. We've got the big foldy outy antenna that we need. So yeah. Hopefully this will meet the power requirements. I think when Eeloo goes out to its highest point, it probably won't and it will run out of electricity, but hopefully we'll be in orbit by then. So yeah, anyway, after doing my deorbit burn, we're going to watch the whole deorbit of this booster because, yes, this should be my most accurate landing yet. One day before this series is out, I will land on the launch pad. I haven't been particularly accurate with most of mine because I haven't had lots of equipment, but this is the first one where I have a big fuel margin, I have air brakes, I have thrusters, and I should be able to get pretty close to the KSC. I've overshot a little bit intentionally so I can do an engine burn and air braking, so that I should hopefully be able to land at least at the KSC. And so I am deploying the air brakes high in the atmosphere to slow myself down a little bit. I won't be able to do that the whole way down because they will simply burn off, but stowed even, they're actually pretty safe from heating. But you can see they're heating up now as I deorbit. But yeah, I'm flying over the mountains quite nicely. I've done a bit of an engine burn a few times if you haven't seen it because of the speed of the video. And I'm just trying to make this quite precise and bring it in. And as I fly over, you can see I'm burning again to try and pull it into the KSC a little more. And it looks like we're getting pretty close to landing. I don't want to overburn, basically, because then I definitely can't correct it. If I underburn, I can correct later, and it costs a little more fuel, but it's better. But you can see we're coming down at the KSC, but it looks like we're going to hit the ocean, so I'm firing my engine kind of furiously, but conservatively, deploying the brakes and the parachutes. And it looks like we might just about land on the beach. Yes! We brought a giant rocket booster back to the KSC. Victory for us, and then it falls over and explodes. It needed landing legs. How was I to know that a giant rocket would need landing legs? Anyway, but I'm still very proud of that, even though that added 50 grand to the cost of this mission. Which makes it quite expensive. But this is much cheaper than the dual mission, because I only need the scientific equipment on the lander, not the orbiter. Because it's... Yeah, anyway. So we fire at the payload assist motor, that does a lot of our burn, but the problem is we kind of had to burn a little late, because if I'd burned earlier, we would have deorbited the spacecraft, which means our orbit kind of ends up... And it was kind of hard to calculate as well, because we can't just look at how long it'll take with this engine, because I was firing up the boosters for about a quarter of the burn, and I did a little calculation, and I realized I should have been burning 3 minutes before the node, not 2. Because I try and balance the amount of delta V on each side of the node, not just the time, because sometimes I'm burning with multiple different engines. So it looks like our orbit might be kind of skew-if. So yeah, we should still get to Eeloo, because we've got a lot of margin, because Eeloo's very slow moving, and we've got a lot of time. But it might be a little later. But yeah. This is heading out. It was much cheaper, as I said, than the dual probe, because the dual probe has a bunch of scientific equipment on this tiny little lander I'm going to drop into into Lathe. Then it has a bunch of, like the gravioli detectors and things on the orbiter as well. Those are really expensive, seismic and gravioli detectors. I think together they're like 25 grand. But this only needs it on the lander, because once the orbiter's in orbit of Eeloo, there's no moons to explore. So that's good. But anyway, we do get an encounter with Joule, which isn't great. But after a little bit of burning, I do in fact... and a little bit of tweaking and making sure, I actually do have a close encounter with Eeloo. It isn't like 4 years as opposed to... Well, it's 4 years and like 50 days, which I think is about 100 days later than it was going to be, but on the scale of 4 years, yeah. So this might be the last thing we see in this series, this finally getting to Joule, to Eeloo, and that'll be rather nice. But anyway, that is the end of the episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. Was packed full of stuff, couple of probes, couple of awesome moon-basey things. Should be getting to Moho again next episode, and maybe launching the first thing for our Arduino mission. I've been talking about it for a long time, but I finally have everything sort of laid out. We're going to do a bunch of testing before we go. We've got about a year, and most of that we'll just be preparing for Duna, and maybe doing some moon-basey things, and maybe launching some probes. I don't know. But anyway, until then, maybe you want to go check out a couple more videos. There is my latest episode of Full of Kerbin, in which I just destroy Penguin's Air Force in a 3-on-7 dogfight. I'm flying 3. I, win. It's awesome. And then we have a naval battle. And there's a video I did because I'm to have an upcoming Q&A I'm going to do. So ask me some questions, and I'll give you some answers in a video soon. And also a bit of a channel update was in there as well, just kind of talking about things that are going on. And there are also links to my Twitter, Twitch, and Patreon in the description. But this has been KSP with Tape. I will see you next time.